Chapter 7, Episode 10 Clara Fights Alone. While Falma was receiving a report from the naval messenger after the joint exercise between the armed priests of the Holy Nation and the Imperial Guard Division of the Sun Fluve, the magic users who had participated in the battle were preparing to return home. Amidst the air of dissolution, the Holy Emperor himself turned to Pal. Realizing that the road had opened naturally, Pal, who broke it sloppily, was impressed. "My name is Pal. I want you to take something with you." "Yes, please." The number of divine techniques in this exercise was great. "How old are you?" "I'm 18. Pal replied nervously. "He will be 19 next month." Elizabeth looked down at Pal as if sizing her up. You're an adult. Do you have incomplete stigmata on your body?" "No, sorry." "Take that." Suddenly Elizabeth's custom-made realm cane is handed over. As instructed, Pal grasped the tip of the Emperor's walking stick. Then the Imperial cane, which also served as a divine power meter, emitted a blue light. "This is the luminescence that indicates the water attribute." Elizabeth read the divine power scale and nodded with satisfaction. Divine power is not bad either." Elizabeth hid it from the surrounding eyes and handed Pal a small box with the Imperial family crest on it. Nevertheless, it attracted a lot of attention from the people around it, and when Pal drew a shadow with his hand and looked inside, there was a pure gold card inside. "This is..." Pal changes the back of the card. On the back was the Imperial seal of the Empire of San Fluve. Pal realized what this meant and gasped. "This is the official qualification to participate in the Imperial Succession Battle. Candidates for the throne of the largest empire in the world, the San Fluve Empire, are selected by the High Priest, learn Imperial studies, and ascend the throne of the former Emperor through a succession battle." Pal was secretly allowed to challenge the throne. The Emperor of the Sun Fluve Empire has strict standards for succession to the throne and must be the strongest magic user in the world. To expect that from their incumbent is the greatest honor. Elizabeth whispered in Pal's ear, who stiffened in shock. "If you decide this time, come." Elizabeth has never given this card to anyone. "There was a time when I expected Falma to become the next emperor, but I had to see him off because he wasn't yet an adult. In the meantime, Falma was looking for a new successor because he gave up his lineage and was not on the list of candidates." What appeared there was Pal, who fully utilized her own system of divine arts. She saw his true value. However, Pal did not reply with a second answer. He chooses his words as he answers. Being a subject and giving an opinion to the Emperor is something that should not be done in the first place. "I have a goal. I want to become a full-fledged apothecary first and be able to cure people satisfactorily." "Yes. I've always heard that from two people close to you." Elizabeth nodded after hearing Pal's open request. Pal gained experience as an apothecary and eventually aspired to become a court pharmacist. Although Falma was ahead of him, he is single-mindedly striving to become a court apothecary. A court apothecary serves the Emperor and protects the Emperor's life. Even house calls and prescriptions do not go well. It was an unattractive position for him. For the king, people are like my children. Pal is at a loss for words. "What, don't be so stiff. It's permission to challenge, not coercion." Seeing his frozen face, Elizabeth smiles reassuringly. It was also like her considering having a child. Besides being a pharmacist, there is a job to heal the world and protect the nation, so it's okay if you feel that way. "Then I will keep it for you." After some hesitation, Pal decided to accept it. "You should carefully consider whether to use it or not. However, you cannot refuse to receive it." Accepted their thoughts. "I apologize for interrupting your conversation." Falma, seeing that the conversation had ended, interposed herself between the two. Falma did not hear their conversation. "Your Highness, there is something I want to report urgently." Falma reported the current situation to the Holy Emperor together with the messenger of the Imperial Navy of San Fluve. Communications are cut off when it turns out there are natives. There's nothing we can do about that. The Holy Emperor's reaction reported by Falma showed a sad expression, but it was something of resignation. Admiral Jean's fleet is a desperate force that should not be rescued in an emergency. Besides, the Empire doesn't send rescue teams. Even if I try to send it, it won't arrive in time. Even if a rescue fleet set sail now, they wouldn't be able to catch up and rescue them. It was an exhausting journey. Therefore, Falma supported them just in case, but it seems that it was not enough. Although he had expected it because of Clara's prophecy, Falma was embarrassed because he could not avoid it despite all his preparation. Even Clara's prophecy cannot avoid suffering, and if something like this happens, we will have no choice but to postpone sending the fleet to the new continent for a while. This was their political decision. Falma recognized the limitations of dealing with the lack of emergency transportation to the new continent. In the Empire, they could be quietly martyred. But they may still be alive. I have the position of the rated ship. Do you mind if I go? What are you going to do alone? We can confirm their safety, take life-saving measures, restore communications, and evacuate them to a safe location until the rescue team arrives. If you can do it, it's an 8-faced, 6-armed activity. For example, even if there were dozens of sick and injured people, it would be impossible for one person to bring all the sailors back. With some ingenuity, 4 people can be transported. If you make dozens of round trips, starting with the seriously injured, you can bring them all back in a few days. If the opponent is an evil spirit, if it is a human opponent, I will not lose. Falma is serious. It can be said that it is a very strong statement. Really? Your ideas are always outsiders. Excuse me, please allow me. As Emperor Sandfluve, I give the order to you, the court pharmacist. No. Falma's thoughts were tragically interrupted by Elizabeth's refusal. Falma was speechless and stared at Elizabeth, but he couldn't blame her. Yes. She never revoked an order once it was decided. Falma had no choice but to withdraw. Falma pondered in the carriage returning to the de' Medici's household. Ellen sitting across from him. It was a mistake to ask His Holiness for permission. There's no way I can say I'm going alone. I wonder if there is anything I can do. When Ellen heard Falma's story, she put ice on his swollen arm from the battle and entrusted his body to the passenger seat of the carriage while she asked anxiously, I had a seabird with me in case communications didn't work, and thanks to the one-time flight, I was able to figure out what was going on. But I couldn't do anything about it. It looks like you used migratory birds instead of regular seabirds. The distance between the continent and Marseille is about 8,000 kilometers. Migratory birds can fly for days and even almost a month without landing. Some birds, such as the Arctic tern, fly continuously for about a month between the Arctic and Antarctic circles. The East Dawn Company, which had its own expertise flying seabirds to Marseille during the sea voyage, had a wide variety of seabirds and migratory birds. They must have established an analog means of communication. The hunting bird, which was considered a legacy of the past, was also reconsidered. Therefore, we cannot leave this report unused. Thanks to Admiral Jean and others reporting the landing site in advance, we have confirmed the location of the fleet. There is no time to lament that the prophecy has come true. 2 of the 5 battleships have wireless communications capabilities. But they should have kept their distance from each other in case of attack or distress, and all ships should have been on standby without landing at sea. Even if something happened after the landing and the landed crew members were wiped out, one ship could survive and return. Nevertheless, communications with all 5 ships were cut off. As a result, the remaining ship was overtaken by the attackers and wiped out, or at least in critical condition. According to Clara's prophecy, they should be alive until Falma arrives. Therefore, I have no choice but to go against the Holy Emperor's order. I may not be able to return for a while. See you later, Ellen. Oren seemed to sense something from Falma's serious words. Are you sure you're not thinking of flying alone? Did the contact of a fleet of 100 people organized by experienced users of divine arts suddenly disappear? It could be a hard evil spirit, so I will work out a strategy a while. I should go. No, it's not a demon. As far as Falma confirmed it several times, nothing dangerous should have happened at the point Admiral Jean was aiming for. There were evil spirits, but they were eradicated, and a magic circle was established to keep the evil spirits at bay. Therefore, it can be concluded that the attackers were not evil spirits but humans, animals, or unknown monsters. Even though Falma explained it, Ellen shook her head. Then I will go, too. You're a daredevil, and I can use my eye, so I think I can help select those who need help. But it's dangerous, and you're hurt. If you think it will be an obstacle, run away with all your might and stay on the sea. Earlier you said you could carry 4 people at once, right? I don't need it. Falma's new medicine god staff was not originally a staff for carrying cargo, although it increased its power by carrying other treasures. Above about 200 kilogram payload, flight performance drops extremely and control deteriorates. So, no matter how hard I try, there are only 4 people. Falma, who had a grim face, clapped his hands. Sure. But wait, if Admiral Jean is there, this could work. What's that? Falma looked at the memo that recorded the location of the communication. At the Marseille factory, a department called the Product Development Department has been re-established to commercialize many of Mr. Theodore's failed works. Even if it's Mr. Theodore's failed work? What happens if you use it? Theoretically, we could transport all 100 people at once in less than a day, just in one direction. What kind of magic will you use? Falma's eyes began to light up as if he had a revelation, and Ellen made a worried face. I can't keep up with science geeks. It's more of a physical device than a divine art. There wasn't anything like that in the Marseille factory, was there? No, there is. Suddenly the carriage stopped. When Falma peered outside, there was a white horse beside it. The carriage must have been stopped by a white horse. What was riding on that white horse? Saint Elizabeth? Is the capacity of the direct flight to the Gabon continent still available? Elizabeth, who had just denied Falma's presentation earlier, laughed in amusement. She should have returned to the lodging in the nearby town and rested, but somehow she seems to have managed to escape. I thought you said you could carry 4 people. His Holiness. As High Priest, I have no authority to restrict your actions. She used a double position. I can't bring His Holiness with me. I wouldn't get in trouble if something happened to you. That's the same line I will return. As a High Priest, the patron deity must be enshrined in a box. She was the one who gave Falma freedom, although it was his own responsibility. If something happened to Falma, he would still be held accountable as the High Priest. If His Holiness is absent as expected. I told you not to go into the bedroom for half a day and not to wake anyone up in order to regain your divine power consumption, he said. Hey, are you planning to go back for the day? People, right? Enough. His Holiness, you're too strong. It might even be a trap. Falma made a sour face. This is His Holiness Elizabeth, how are you? Pal noticed the commotion and got out of the front of the carriage. No doubt he had a face that told me to join him. Then I'll prepare medicines and equipment as soon as I arrive home, so please wait. I had nowhere to go and finally flew with the 3 of them to the new continent. Falma sent telegrams about his plan to Adam, Theodore and Clara from the Marseille area and sent work requests. And it takes shortest travel arrangements. I am impatient to hurry, but it is useless even if I go unprepared. Falma hesitated to correct it now, as he had declared that he would not lose to humans, but Falma thought so too. Close combat is not that scary. It can be overpowered by the difference in divine power. But if there is a human conspiracy or psychological warfare, it is more terrifying than evil spirits. HYA. Clara woke up when the dripping water hit her cheek. Let me see. Look around and check the situation. She is in a dark, damp cave, separated from her by what looks like iron bars hanging from the ceiling. Clara seems to be trapped in a grate, and the water drops just fell from the ceiling of the cave. Outside the grate, a torch was lit, and behind it was an open space that looked like a passageway through which many people came and went. What Clara saw were people with straw-colored skin and black hair. After my eyes had been fixed on it for a while, I noticed that a woman with a cane under her arm was staring at Clara from outside the grill. She looks like a girl, but her age is unknown. Her long hair is braided on one side and tied with a colorful string. A pair of large black eyes that seemed strong with curiosity were fixed on Clara. Ah, this child has sunk the ship. At that time, she could not see well in the dark, but Clara was once again surprised how an innocent girl could be such an innocent girl who had the ability to defeat 100 users of the divine arts alone with ease. Exclamation mark. When the woman saw Clara wake up, she approached and spoke to her. She says something, so I try to smile, but I can't understand her words at all. I don't know. Clara apologetically turned her head and shrugged her shoulders, while the girl tilted her head and sighed through her nose. If possible, give that wand back. You can't have it, can you? Clara is thrown into prison and deprived of her wand. The girl holds the wand in one hand and taps the tip of the wand in her other palm to see how Clara is doing. It wasn't long before the girl was called away by someone. A couple of boys crouched in front of the cage and walked past her. I can understand their interest in Clara, who is clearly different from them, probably not a guard, but a spectator. So Clara came up with the idea of communicating through painting. Fortunately, the inside of the prison was sandy and I could draw on the floor with my fingertips. She was the first to draw a bird, an example of a creature they might know. Peary. The boy pointed and shouted. Clara pointed to the picture and asked, Pearies? Peary. Okay, you say Peary. Clara was lucky enough to get a clue about the language. Next, draw a picture of a fish and point to it. Katana. The fish is a katana, isn't it? I was lucky that Clara had some artistic flair. Draw a picture of a person, man and woman. Children and adults' body parts. Next, act. Have children look at the picture or observe Clara's behavior and respond. Clara took notes on the floor and memorized the words. Clara drew a picture of the gun as they got used to it. Children turned their heads. 9. Replied. Clara quickly drew a picture of the carriage. Again I replied, 9. Clara drew things that existed in the empire that they probably didn't know about and confirmed that they would return with 9. Clara is now a noble woman, but she grew up as a commoner and abandoned child until Falma discovered their connection. There were times when he sold vegetables to the foreign peddlers who gathered in the big market to earn some pocket change. It's not that I don't know how to negotiate with people who don't speak the language. To understand the language of the other person, something is necessary first. It's about knowing the universal equivalent of what is this? 9 is the interrogative sentence. If you can draw it out, the rest is a game of endurance. Clara smiled awkwardly, pointed to herself and called herself Clara. Then he pointed to one of them and said, 9. The children seemed surprised, but Maripo, named Clara, he pointed to himself and answered with a smile. This is his name. Clara made notes on the floor and memorized them. The first self-introduction and then the steady exchange continued. After a while, the conversation between Clara and the children got too loud, and it must have been too loud. The children left when the adults called them. The adults who crossed Clara's prison were armed with guns and staves carried by sailors from Admiral Jean's fleet. Clara was stunned when she saw it. For nobles, the staff is the second most important thing after life. If their wands are taken from them, it means they are not safe. I wonder what happened to Admiral Jean and the others. I'm the only one who's safe. I don't want to think about it, but I didn't feel safe. The reason Clara was saved is because she let go of her stick when the girl turned to attack, so she was safe. As for why she let go of her stick, Clara could immediately see the prediction that the girl would attack her opponent with her stick or weapon. It could have been something like the protection of the guardian deity called Traveling God or something like a defensive instinct. Clara warned and screamed at that time, but no one accepted it. Even if I had been told to let go of my weapon during the fight, it might have been impossible. I should have accompanied the fleet to prevent this. It doesn't start even if I brood over it. On the contrary, Clara's life is in danger. Admiral Jean and the others didn't look like skeletons until the last moment. It is not certain, but it means that life was not taken. However, Clara does not know her own fate. It is possible that only one person is killed. Clara wiped her tears and sorted the words she had collected from the children earlier. Oh, yes. Even if I don't understand it, the patron god knows everything. Clara blinked. Clara furiously wrote symbols for yes and no on the floor and around them abbreviations for divination and dials. It's called Guardian Divine Jutsu. This is a type of Ouija board that was once popular in aristocratic salons, even in Sanfleuve. In Japan, it is known as the prototype of Kukuru-san. What was done in the salon was like a mind game, but in Clara's case it was like a lie because she really had the divine protection of the traveling god at her fingertips. Clara had tried this divination several times, which was only available during her travels. After dancing Budo Shinjutsu, pray lightly. Guardian of the goddess, please come. Clara's fingers began to move on their own. Goddess Guardian, welcome. Is Admiral Jean still alive? Yes. For the time being, the thought came up that it was good. Clara is not alone. It is irresistibly encouraging that we are not alone and helpless. Where are you? Are you around? Yes, sir. Are you all right? No. It's safe, isn't it? Her. Oh no. And Clara felt hopeless. Are you hurt badly? Is it dangerous if I don't help quickly? Yup. I don't think Clara can escape from here alone and save her, but I decided to know the enemy for now. Is the person who attacked us a mage? A girl named Malene. No. Who is she? If not a magic user, what is this power? Clara's finger is guided to the dial. If you can't answer yes or no, the dial tells you. Shaman. Yes. I understand, thought Clara. It's not an evil spirit, it's a technique that summons and uses spirits. Sorcery was the driving force behind calling birds from the earth, planting monsters, and moving a large number of anomalies. There is such a thing as alchemy, but it is taboo on the continent and subject to inquisition in the temple. Therefore, there is no technique left on the continent that has such a strong materialization effect. Is Malene the most powerful sorceress among them? Yes. At this point Clara's divinity was exhausted for today and she could no longer use any divine arts. I have no choice but to wait until tomorrow for my divine power to recover. When tomorrow comes, however, Clara, who can't use battle magic, is not an opponent who can manage to fight with divine arts. A direct attack is no good. The only way left for Clara was to engage and entangle her. If we don't hurry, Admiral Jean and the others will be in danger while we do it. Malene. Clara decided to call out. She turned around in amazement. I just drew a portrait of her and found out through interviews with the children that her name is Malene. What you should bring is artistic sense and courage. The opponent has the ability to kill Clara instantly. It's not a good idea to damage her impression, but you can't just be afraid. Clara's heart beats faster at the last-minute haggle. I hate money. When Clara patted her belly and said she was hungry, Malene looked suspicious. But when she said something to her companions, others came with baked potatoes, grilled fish and drinking water. Uri. This corresponds to words of thanks. Clara makes full use of the few words she has learned. Malene listened attentively. Katana mañana. Fish good, this means. I want you to translate that fish is delicious. Whether it is really delicious, the fish itself has a strong feature, and compared to the skill of the Sanfleuve chef who accompanied me, the seasoning is too wild or rather spicy. It seemed sprinkled with spices that Clara knew nothing about. It didn't suit Clara's tongue, but for now I praised the other person's food culture with a friendly attitude and explored his background. Maripo. Malene called to Maripo. Maripo was talking to Malene about something, but Maripo came before Clara. Malene probably wanted Maripo, who until now had spoken to Clara with gestures, to act as Clara's interpreter. Malene held out her walking stick to Clara. Maripo asked. 9. It is a sacred staff. Clara answered hastily. Mean. Move with divine power. Main means like. I was asked how to use it. Clara stretched out her hand, but Malene did not reach out her staff. As expected, he was careful. Malene knows that it can also be used as a weapon. 9. It's a weapon. Mean. Nana. If you teach them how to use a gun, they might shoot you. Also, a friend could get shot with it. Clara couldn't teach. So I said, Nana, I don't know, and ran away from the question. Malene must not have been convinced. She drew a schematic picture of a person on the floor, put her hand on the picture and raised her hand. Then a humanoid spirit appeared from the earth. Clara was startled and backed away. Just when she thought she was going to be killed, Malene speaks to Clara. Then the ghost began to speak with the same mouth movements as Malene. Can you hear my words? The spirit translates Malene's words and conveys them to Clara. Yes, Clara remarks. A spirit is a mass of thoughts, and the words it speaks transcend language. Malene can translate the languages of others through spirits. As soon as he realized that Maripo's interpreter was not working, he changed the method of dialogue. Malene not only uses spiritual arts but also makes herself a formidable opponent. Yes, I can hear you. A spirit translates Clara's words and transmits them to Malene. It is cross-cultural communication using spiritual arts. Originally, we wanted to welcome you. So I patiently observed what you would do in this land. You invaded our territory, disturbed the sleep of our ancestors, and used your sinister powers to repel them. The ominous power would be divine arts. To them, the divine arts seem to be an abominable art system. Clara is at a loss for words, surprised at the unexpected resentment. I didn't mean it. We didn't know you were here. I was trying to drive away the old spirits who are sleeping quietly. 40 days before, the great spirit that guarded this land was wiped out by an evil force. The few remaining spirits are angry and think it must be your work. 40 days ago, an evil force. Did it wipe out the spirits Malene's held in such high esteem? I don't know, Clara moaned. The priests who accompanied Admiral Jean are certainly skilled and use divine arts to exorcise evil spirits. However, the ship had not yet sailed, and it was impossible to cross the continent and use divine arts. Well, I don't know what happened 10 days ago. We've only been here for 10 days. Besides, it was the demons who tried to get rid of the spirits. Only. There were no demons here. Malene said it with clear eyes. A demon for Clara, but not for her. You all value the spirits. And just as we believe in the patron deities and gain divine power, you receive blessings and power from the spirits that dwell in this land. I didn't know your style, sorry. On the continent where Clara lived, the thoughts of the dead only turned into evil spirits. Evil spirits were exorcised and purified by divine temple arts. But the people of this continent don't seem to believe that. Live with spirits and honor them. It was like living in such a worldview. Don't the evil spirits of this continent attack people? As long as there are old spirits, no evil spirits will appear. But the old spirit is dead. Why did you help only me? Your reaction when you saw me was different from the others. Also, you were the only one who didn't point your gun to attack us. Up to that point, I was looking up. In that darkness, I knew Malene was a bright girl who had seen through her. Then why did you let go of your stick? Because I knew it attacked the wand. Well, the spirits Malene uses are not precognitive and her mind can't read my mind. Therefore, she showed interest in Clara and asked her directly. How do you avoid danger? Malene said it, but Clara shook her head and said it was nothing that had accumulated. This is something like a hunch. If you lie, your comrades will die tomorrow. Well, please stop. Clara's position was that of a prisoner of war held hostage. Her position is weak, but apparently they can't kill her with Clara's ability. I will answer what I know. so please help them. All of your people entered Lake Titicaca and we're cursed. This curse will die someday, sooner or later. Hey. After all, what happened to that lake? Clara's whole body freezes. The water of the lake Clara somehow avoided. If you enter the lake, you'll be cursed to death. There was a trap set somewhere. It seems that you have stubbornly refused to enter the lake. Is that a prediction too? Wow, I only had a vague premonition. Maline's eyes shine sharply. The precognitive ability of the traveling god is unique to Clara. Even if you teach the other person, you cannot do so for someone who does not even have a guardian deity. If he still cannot answer, he and Clara will be killed. Clara was in a desperate situation. Oh, I see. Only I can use the power of prediction. I will do as you say, so please don't mess with those people. Good answer. Then I'll leave them on a deserted island and forgive them. Extend your hand. As Maline pressed her fingertips against Clara's neck, a curse sign appeared. You will be my slave, and if you rebel, you will die. Hey, unequal contract. Clara's eyes water, but she can't resist. If the curse of submission is applied while the divine power is shut down, nothing can be done. Are you ready? Helplessly, Clara sank into her prison cell.